श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Paramagurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarvagurubhyo Namaha. So continuing with our discussion on Sri Vacana Bhusanam. Basically, the last part he's talking about how the main aspect or the main aspect of the soul is service to God.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and that the soul is also defined by in the same way that Brahman is defined as being full of bliss and knowledge. But
right.
But the primary thing. See, there's a word in Sanskrit called lakshana. Lakshana means quality, the quality, or the definition. Let's say definition. Lakshana means definition. So a definition, for instance, you got a cow and a horse, right? You can't say the definition of a cow or a horse is having 4 legs. Some people might say that's part of the definition, but a cow has 4 legs, a horse also has 4 legs. So in Sanskrit, the word lakshana is used about the defining aspect, the thing which the cow has that the horse doesn't have, the thing that the horse has that the cow doesn't have, right?
Right.
That actually defines them, right? So if somebody says define a horse, if you say, well, it has 4 legs, well, an elephant has 4 legs too. So how is that the definition of a horse? It's not. So the lakshana, so what he's saying is the main lakshana of the soul. What's the difference in the supreme soul and the individual soul? The supreme soul is Satchidananda. The individual soul is also Satchidananda. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that doesn't define the difference.
Right.
The way to define the difference is one is the master and one is the servant. That's the way to define the difference.
And that's the very essential difference, eh? And that's what atheists and maybe also Advaitins don't like this, to admit that we are servants. Eh? They don't like to,
well,
especially atheists.
Okay.
Eh?
Well, atheists have no concept of God at all, so there's no. They don't make a separate definition of the self and God because they don't believe in God.
No.
But Advaitins have a concept of God, but their concept of God, they have 2 levels of. In Advaita, there's 2 levels of reality. There's what we call a Vyavaharika, and there's a Paramartika. There's an ordinary level of perception that we see right now. We look around us and we see certain things, and then there's a higher view. You know, so the higher view, there is no soul. There's only just Brahman. You know,
right.
But in the lower level, in the Vyavaharika level of Advaita, Avad, right? They believe that there's Ishvara, there's God, and then there's a soul, and there's a difference between the God and soul. So they believe in difference on an ordinary level, but not in the ultimate level. So, but in any case, all these people, everybody has a definition. All the different schools of philosophy have a definition of the self. You know, the atheists just believe. The atheists normally they believe that the self is just matter.
Right.
Yeah. But other people have other concepts of the self, and what basically he's saying the most important definition of the self for us is that the self is a servant of God.
Right. Yeah.
Like that. So this also brings up the point that in the Northern school they believe that the self is a servant of Lakshmi Narayana, that God is a being who incorporates Lakshmi and Narayana, Sriman Narayana, and the Southern school believes that Lord Narayana himself is the Supreme Soul, and that Lakshmi also is a Shesha. She's also serving him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a slight difference in understanding, because the Southern school emphasizes the role of Lakshmi being in between the souls and God, that she's the consort of the Supreme Lord, and therefore she serves him also, just like we serve him. But she's also the mother of the individual souls, and therefore she has a relationship to us and a relationship to him, and she therefore is in a perfect situation. She's perfectly situated to mediate between these
Right.
two sides. But if we have to assign her a definition, we have to also assign her the definition which is given to the souls. That is, she's a servant of God also. She may be the greatest servant, she may be the best servant, whatever, but the Southern school, the Tengalai Sri Vaishnavas say, she has to be also subservient to the Lord. And the Madhvas also say the same thing. They say that Lakshmi is like a jiva, in the sense that she is not God, but she's also very great, because unlike other jivas, she's never touched by sorrow. She's never covered by maya. She's never experiences grief or anything like that, because she is also eternally his consort, and therefore very close to him. So just like the example we might give is that there's a king, and the king has a prime minister. The king has a prime minister, and the prime minister is a very important person. And the prime minister is also a servant of the king, but he lives in the palace, and he enjoys almost on the level of the king. Whereas the king has all the people in the kingdom are the servants of the king. And there may be a beggar in the street, and the prime minister is certainly not is certainly far above a beggar in the street or an ordinary person, right? The ordinary person doesn't live with the opulence of the king, but the prime minister lives directly with the king and has the influence over the king in the sense of giving advice and everything like that. So Sri Devi is like that. Lakshmi is like that. She is between the living entities and the jivas, but we have to count her. That if we say in Vedanta, we basically say there are three realities. There's God, there's the souls, the sentience, and there's the universe, dull matter, insentient matter. So we're not talking about insentient matter. Nobody's saying Lakshmi is insentient matter. Nobody's saying the soul is insentient matter. We have consciousness, chit. Therefore we're called chit. Chida chit Ishvara is these three characters. So Ishvara means God, and chit means the souls or knowledge, and achit means without knowledge or without sentience. So the thing is, these are the three divisions in Vedanta, basically. And so the question is, which category does she belong to? Which category does Sri or Lakshmi belong to, right? So if some people say, so the Northern school, they'll say, well, she belongs to the Ishvara category. She's also God. So in that case, we say, well, if she's also God, then she's just like another avatar, like Matsya Kurma, Varaha, like Narasimha, like Krishna, like Rama. These are all avatars of God or expansions, or maybe she's like Mohini. Mohini is a female form, which is also Vishnu Tattva, right? So then we're basically saying she's Vishnu Tattva. So if she's Vishnu Tattva, she's God, and therefore we think, the Southern school says, therefore if she's God, she can't mediate between God and the souls that are in Maya, the souls that have committed unlimited sins from time immemorial. She can't mediate between those two sides because she's biased, because she's God. So if she is a category of God, like Rama and Krishna and Shiva Narayana, then she needs also somebody in between. So maybe they can say, oh, the guru's in between or whatever. Maybe it's what they say. But we say, the Southern school, we say that no, she's in between, and therefore she's separate from God. So because we say she's not Ishvara Tattva, she's not Vishnu Tattva, then we have to say she's, so like you might talk to Gaudiyas and you say, is Radharani Vishnu Tattva? And they'll say, no, she's not Vishnu Tattva. They won't admit that she's Vishnu Tattva. In puja, we don't put tulsi leaves on Radharani's feet. We put them in her hand. And we put them also in the hand of the guru. And why do we put Tulsi in the hand of the guru? Because the hand of the guru or Radha, they're offering something. They're a servant and they're offering it to God, like that. Otherwise, if they're God, they have it on their feet. They have it on their feet. If they're Vishnu Tattva, we put it on their feet. So the question has to be like that. So if she's God, then we have to put Tulsi on her feet. We have to treat her like God. Like Mohini, if you have a deity of Mohini, it looks like a lady, form of a lady, beautiful lady, right? And you have to put Tulsi on Mohini's feet, right? Not because she's a lady, but because she's Vishnu Tattva. She's a Vishnu Tattva. But Sri Devi or Sita or Radha, they are not considered Vishnu Tattva. So you can even get that. You talk to Gaudias and say, is Sita, Radha, Rukmini, Satyabhama, or any of these ladies, are they Vishnu Tattva? They'll say, no, they're not Vishnu Tattva. They'll have some idea they're Shakti Tattva. What exactly is Shakti Tattva? Shakti just means the energy of the Lord. We're all the energy of the Lord. We're also Shakti Tattva. But then they'll say, you're Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha Shakti. Right? Tatastha Shakti means you can be covered. You're a type of Shakti that can be covered. Whereas Lakshmi can't be covered. But also there are other people in Vaikuntha or Goloka, like the father of Krishna or the mother of Krishna or whatever, or there are other Nityasuris, people who are eternal associates of the Lord in heaven in Vaikuntha, in the eternal heaven Vaikuntha, or Goloka, whatever you want to call it. Those persons also never were covered by my Maya, right? So just to say that she's not covered by Maya, therefore she's God, that's not true, right? Vishwaksena, Adishesha, or we can say Nanda, Yasoda, the people who are there in Goloka or Vaikuntha, right? They're also not covered by Maya. So, okay, nobody there, everybody's liberated, nobody can be covered by Maya. So that we can't say that makes them a category God. That's not the distinguishing definition. So just to say that she is like that, we can't count her as Ishvara. But then again, Gaudiyas also have this idea that Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahir, that Radha Krishna combined is God. They have this idea that Radha Krishna combined is God. So the Wadagalas also have that idea that Sri and Narayana are combined are God. It's a combination God. It's the divine couple, either Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan, whatever you want to call them. They are God. That's God, the divine couple. But if the divine couple are God, then what? Are there two gods, or are they just two aspects of the same person? In which case, if they're two aspects of the same person, how do they have a relationship? If I expand myself, if I'm God and I can expand into Rama or Krishna or an avatar, and I meet myself as an avatar, like if Rama meets Krishna, right? If Rama meets Krishna, the avatar Rama meets the avatar Krishna, right? What kind of relationship do they have? They're the same person.
Yeah.
How do you have a relationship with yourself?
Yeah.
Right? That relationship is like, it's like if you're in a video game and you have an avatar and you're playing in a video game. Let's say you have another keyboard and you put another avatar in there, and both keyboards you're playing. That's what it would be like.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is to understand everything by definitions, and the definition that is given by the Northern school is that she's Ishvara. She's in the category of Ishvara or Vishnu Tattva, and the definition given by the Southern school is she's not in that. She's not God, right? Because she also serves. God never serves. God doesn't serve. So he's not the servant. That's his. If he's the servant, then we don't have a definition for the soul. The soul, what he's saying right here is the defining thing about the soul is it serves, right? He's the master. The master is never the slave, right? The master is always the master. He's never the slave, right? Even if the master were to do something for the slave or do something for the servant, he's really still the master. He's the master, right? So there might be some leela where Krishna carries the shoes of Nanda on his head, or does something where he seems like drives a chariot of Arjuna. He's a chauffeur, like a servant. But he's not really the servant. He's never really the servant. So, okay, so the question is, the Southern school says, if Shri is not God, if she's not Vishnu Tattva, if she's not Ishvara category, she therefore must be a servant. And therefore, she's in the other category, in which is called Jiva Koti, or Shesha. She's a servant. And therefore, she's that. So she's either one or the other, right? If there's nothing in between, there's nothing in between, right? Either you're a master.
And many Hindus they worship Lakshmi to get wealth, to become wealthy.
Sure.
But this wealth is actually given by Narayan, of course, because she is a jiva.
Well, everything is given by him.
Yeah, ultimately.
But he does give the power to do different things to different people.
Yeah, right.
He gives the power. Yeah. He gives us power too. We have power if if somebody's the president of the United States, or if somebody's a great person, somebody's the head of a company, somebody is the head of a family, they have some power. They have certain powers that are given, but everything's given. We can't lift a finger without God's blessing.
Sure.
So we have no power apart from him. But so he's giving different people. So the demigods he gives, devatas he may give more power to, like that, or even his own consort, Sri Devi, she has some powers, like that. But ultimately, that's all coming from him, because ultimately everything's coming from him. Janmadhyasya, that from which everything emanates is Brahman, is the supreme Brahman, that mainstream.
Right. Yeah.
So so here it's just an important point that when we make definitions, we have to be careful that the definition is too narrow or too broad, right? Well, I gave that example of the cow and the horse, right? When you say that they have four. What's a cow? It has 4 legs. Yeah, an elephant also has 4 legs. So that's too broad. That's not a definition. It's considered too broad. It's not a proper definition. A proper lakshana or a definition in Sanskrit actually gets to the heart of the matter and says, what is the actual defining quality? So here, Pillai Lokacharya is saying, to bring it back to Sri Vacana Bhusanam, is saying the defining quality of the soul is service. He's a servant, he's a slave of God, like that. And these other things that he has bliss and he has knowledge and he has eternity, he's Satchidananda. Yeah, the Upanishads talk about this, the Paramatma and the Atma both having these certain things, right? But it doesn't talk about, that doesn't distinguish the Atma from the Paramatma. So if we really want to distinguish the supreme soul from the individual soul, we have to say one is a servant, one is a master.
ஆழ்வார் திருவடிகளே சரணம், எம்பெருமானார் திருவடிகளே சரணம், பிள்ளை லோகாச்சாரியர் திருவடிகளே சரணம், ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஸ்ரீவச்சன பூஷணம் 80th Sutram. In the previous 79 Sutrams, we saw 3 sections in Srivachana Bhushanam. The first section is the introduction, where Pillai Lokacharya and Manavala Mamunigal, through his commentary, tell us that whatever is present in Srivachana Bhushanam is the essence of the Vedic literature. Then Purushakara Vaibhavam was dealt with in detail. The nature of Mother Lakshmi, where she mediates on behalf of the soul to Lord Sriman Narayana, was discussed in depth. After that, Upaya Vaibhava Prakaranam was there till the 79th Sutra, where the nature of surrender, Prapatti, and the fact that the Upaya or the means is only Lord Sriman Narayana, how the act of surrender cannot be considered to be an Upaya or means, and multiple other things were taught to us. From this sutra onwards, for the next several sutras, in fact for another 200 sutras or so, Pillai Lokacharya talks about a key concept, Adhikari Nishtha. So this is called Adhikari Nishtha Prakaranam. Adhikari here means somebody who is qualified. who is the Adhikari here that is talked about? It is that person who has surrendered and taken Lord Sriman Narayana as the means and desires Lord Sriman Narayana, service to Lord Sriman Narayana himself as the goal. And Nishta means the practices that that person follows, the mindset that that person has. So, in the next many sutras, Pullelokacharya talks about the nature of a person who is the Adhikari, the nature of the surrendered person, and the practices of the Adhikari, or the practices that Prapanna will follow or will need to follow. This is a wonderful section of Sri Vacana Bhusanam, and let us start enjoying that starting today. In the 80th Sutram, Pullelokacharya talks specifically about how one should be when one is surrendering to Lord Sriman Narayana from the perspective of adopting him as the means, that is upaya, and how one should be while desiring for the goal, which is service to Lord Sriman Narayana. உபாயத்துக்கு பிராட்டியையும் திரௌபதியையும் திருக்கண்ணமங்கை ஆண்டானையும் போலே இருக்க வேண்டும். உபேயத்துக்கு இளைய பெருமாளையும் பெரிய உடையாரையும் பிள்ளை திருநறையூரரையரும் சிந்தயந்தியையும் போலே இருக்க வேணும். He says, when it comes to the means, adopting the means of Lord Sriman Narayana himself, one should be like, which means one should behave like Pirati, Mother Lakshmi, Draupadi, and an Acharya called Tirukkannamangai Andan. While desiring for service at Lord Sriman Narayana's feet for the Upeya, one should be like Ilaya Perumal, which is Lakshmana, Periya Udayar is Jatayu, Pillai Tirunarayur Arayar, a great Acharya, and Chintayanti, a Gopika who is mentioned in some of the Puranas. In the next sutram, the next two sutrams, he talks about the upaya, how one should be like the people that he said we should follow from the upaya perspective. In the 81st sutra, Pullelokacharya gives us the difference between Draupadi and Pirati. Piratikum Draupadikum Vasi, Shaktiyum Ashaktiyum. The difference between Pirati, Mother Lakshmi, and Draupadi is that one had Shakti, that is power, and one had Ashakti. She did not have power. Manavala Mamunigal beautifully explains. We know that Pirati in the Ramavatara as Sita, she helped Hanuman when Hanuman had gone to Sri Lanka in the first time and he created havoc and his tail was set on fire. Sita helped him. She, through her power, she requested the fire to not harm Hanuman, not cause heat to him, but on the other hand, be comfortable to him. So she had that power. So if she desired to use that same power and then tell Ravana Nashto Bhava, Ravana would have been destroyed. That is the power that she had. That is the Shakti that Sita, Mother Lakshmi, Pirati had. Draupadi, on the other hand, when she was insulted in the Sabha of Dhritarashtra, when Dushasana was trying to disrobe her, take her sari away, even if she wanted to try to save herself, she did not have the power to save herself. She did not have the Shakti. That is the difference. Mother Lakshmi, Sita had the Shakti or the power to save herself. Draupadi did not have the power to save herself. That is the difference. Then in the next sutra, the 82nd sutra, Pullelokacharya and Manavala Mamunigal through his commentary teaches what they followed. Pirati Swashaktiyai Vittal. திரௌபதி லஜ்ஜையை விட்டாள், திருக்கண்ணமங்கையாண்டான் ஸ்வ வியாபாரத்தை விட்டான். So it says, Pirati, Sita, Mother Lakshmi, she renounced her power. Draupadi லஜ்ஜையை விட்டாள், she renounced her shame. Tirukkannamangayandan, this Acharya, we will see a little bit more detail in a couple of minutes from now. Swavyabharatai vittan, he renounced activity that he had to do, that he would have done in the past, that through his own efforts to attain moksha. That's swavyapara, the concern and the activity in one's own interest that one does is swavyaparam, that he renounced. How? Let us see. Pirati Swashaktiyai Vittal. In Lanka, even though Sita was very capable and she had the power, she understood her true nature as Paratantra, as a completely dependent soul, completely dependent person on Rama, and hence she waited for Rama to come and save her, and she did not use her power. So she renounced her power because she understood the nature of the soul, which is to be completely subservient and dependent to Lord Sriman Narayana, in this case Rama. Draupadi lajjayai vittal. When Dussashana was disrobing her, was trying to disrobe her, the natural tendency would have been to keep one hand or both hand on the dress and make sure to try to reject, try to stop the dress from coming out. But Draupadi also had complete belief, complete faith in Krishna, and she also knew about Paratantriam. So she left her shame away and she raised both the hands and then she prayed to Krishna to save her. That is complete faith and complete dependence on Krishna. She displayed that by renouncing the shame, a shame which is something that is natural. She renounced that. And of course we know that she was saved by Krishna. Tirukkannamangayandan swa vyabharatai vittan. So here Tirukkannamangayandan was an acharya who was living in a place called Tirukkannamangai. It is a beautiful Divyadesam in Tamil Nadu. Beautiful Perumal, Pattaravi Perumal is there, wonderful Perumal is there, and Thirumangiyaழ்வார் has sung beautifully about this Perumal. Here, one day, Tirukkannamangayandan, he used to be in the temple and the surrounding areas, and he used to do a lot of service in the temple. One day, when he was coming to the temple, he saw a very strange scene. There were two people, two human beings, two men, who were fighting. It turns out, when he inquired as to what happened, that one of the people who were fighting, one of the persons, one of the two who was fighting, he saw the other person kill that dog that he owned. Because the other person killed his dog, he got really angry and then he started fighting the other person. And both of them had a very cruel fight, a very magnificent and cruel fight, and both of them died. This person whose dog was killed, he stabbed the other person, and due to the fight he died. It is said he killed himself also in some variations of this Vrittantam. On seeing this, Tirukkannamangayandan, he became shocked, and a light, a bulb in the modern terms, right, went off in his head. He immediately thought to himself, this is after all a dog, which is replaceable. You can get another dog. The owner of the dog has so much affection and so much caring for his belonging that he is going to a great extent to kill the other person who did harm to the dog, and he even went to the extent of not worrying about his life in order to exhibit his care for the dog. He did these things. Now, if for an ordinary dog and an ordinary human being, this is what the relationship is, and the master, in this case this human being, does that for the dog, he thought, aren't we all the belonging of Lord Sriman Narayana? And Lord Sriman Narayana is infinitely more magnificent and powerful and kind and has all the auspicious qualities than this person. He is the supreme being after all. So, how much affection and how much concern he should have for us? Of course, he has so much concern. The moment he understood that and it occurred to his mind, from that moment onwards, Thirukkannamangiyandan, he renounced all his own efforts that he tried to do in the past to reach Lord Sriman Narayana, because he was convinced completely that the owner will take all the efforts to attain his own property, and hence Lord will do whatever is needed to save him. There is no need for him to do his own thing. That is a very important example for us in terms of how an Acharya conducted himself by leaving everything up to Lord Sriman Narayana, because he understood the inalienable relationship that we have with Lord Sriman Narayana. He is the owner, we belong to him. That is what is said here. Thirukkandamangayandan Swavyaparathai Vittan. So, in this sutra, the 82nd sutra, we have seen that Pullalokacharya gives us 3 examples where all 3 of them understood the true nature of the relationship between the soul and Lord Sriman Narayana, and they renounced different things. One of them renounced the power that they had, the other one renounced the shame, and the third one renounced all activity that he himself did in order to reach Lord Sriman Narayana. Now let us look into the 83rd Sutram. From this Sutram onwards, for a few more Sutrams, Pullalokacharya talks about how we should behave when it comes to the desire for the goal, the upeya. First, he talks about Lakshmana. The 83rd Sutram is Pasira iruppar attachorum unna venum அடுகிற சோறும் உண்ண வேணும் என்னுமா போலே காட்டுக்கு போகிற போது இளைய பெருமாள் பிரியில் தரியாமையை முன்னிட்டு அடிமை செய்ய வேணும், எல்லா அடிமையும் செய்ய வேணும், ஏவிக்கொள்ளவும் வேணும் என்றார். படை வீட்டில் புகுந்த பின்பு காட்டில் தனியிடத்தில் சுயம்பாக்கத்திலே வயிற்றை பெருக்கினபடியாலே ஒப்பூனுண்ண மாட்டாதே ஒரு திருக்கையாலே திருவெண் குட்டக்குடையையும் ஒரு திருக்கையாலே திருவெண் சாமரத்தையும் தரித்து அடிமை செய்தார். It's a long sutram, but a beautiful sutram. And I will explain that using Manavada Mamuni's commentary. First he says, Pasira iruppar attachorum unna venum, adigira sorum unna venum ennuma pole. Somebody who is very hungry at this time, imagine somebody who has been starving for 10 days, hasn't eaten anything. So what will their desire be? Their desire will be to eat whatever food has already been cooked that's available, as well as whatever food is being cooked right now. As soon as it is ready, they will want to eat. Isn't it? Because they will have that much amount of desire for food because they haven't eaten for 10 days. The same attitude Lakshmana displayed when it came to his hunger for service to Rama. That is what is being said here. Similar to that person, Ennuma pole, காட்டுக்கு போகிற போது இளைய பெருமாள் பிடியில் தடியாமையை முன்னிட்டு அடிமை செய்ய வேணும், எல்லா அடிமையும் செய்ய வேணும், ஏவிக்கொள்ளவும் வேணும் என்னார். So இளைய பெருமாள், Lakshmana, and we have seen this in some sutras in the past also, where when Rama was about to go to the forest, first he did not want to take Lakshmana. Then Lakshmana convinced him to take him because he wanted to do service to Lord Rama. He said, I will come with you, I cannot be without you, I want to do all the service to you. Aham sarvam karishyami, all the services I would like to do to you, he said that. Here, Manavada Mamunigal also quotes, once they were near the Ganga, even there also Rama attempted to send Lakshmana back. But then Lakshmana says, no, Rama, I will not go. Sita and I are such that even for one muhurtam, one short period of time, if we are separated from you, we will be like fish that is out of water. It's a very famous shloka. Nacha Sita Tvaya Hina Nachaham api Raghava Muhurtam api Jivavo Jalan Matsya Vivo Druthau. It's a very famous shloka in Ramayana that is being commented by, but that is being used in commentaries by our acharyas and has been commented also. So he said that. And we also know that in the forest, when Rama asked Lakshmana to find a place that is suitable and then build a place where they can live and a kitchen and so on, Lakshmana said, no, I am not a Swatantra. You yourself find a place and tell me where to build. This also we saw a few sutras back. Kriyatam iti mam vada. Paravanasmi kakutsa tvai varsasatam sthite swayam tu ruchire deshe kriyatam iti mam vada. You yourself choose a place and then you tell me what to do and I will do. He said that. So that is the attitude that Lakshmana had, where he wanted to do service. He wanted to do all kinds of service, and he did not want to do that in a mood of independence. He wanted Rama to tell him what to do, where to do, and how to do, and he did that to him. That is the first part of this sutram. Next he says, Padai Vittil Puhunda Pinbu, Katil Tanidatil Swayampakattile Vaitai Perikkinapadiale, Oppununna Matade, ஒரு திருக்கையாலே திருவன் கொத்த குடையையும் ஒரு திருக்கையாலே திருவன் சாமரத்தையும் தரித்து அடிமை செய்தார். So this is after they come back from Lanka and the Pattabhishekam has happened for Rama. Padai Vittil புகுந்த பின்பு, after he came back. Here a beautiful example is given. காட்டில் தனியிடத்தில் ஸ்வயம்பாக்கத்திலே வைத்து பெருக்கினபடியாலே ஒப்பூனுண்ண மாட்டாதே. The comparison is to a person who is in a forest who ate by himself. He cooked for himself and he ate by himself. So if he cooks a little bit excess, he will eat that. And if he does that for a consecutive period of time, whatever food is there, it will go waste if he doesn't eat. Even though he is full, he might eat a little bit more. Whatever is cooked, he eats. So he is used to enjoying whatever food is there by himself. So you take this person to a big place where there is a feast going on. Oppununna mattade is this person may not desire, if he is used to eating everything by himself, may not desire to eat similar to others. He may want to eat himself all the items, more items than others, or eat himself all the items without sharing to others. Because that's what he has been doing for many, many years. That is the analogy here that is given. Kaattil Taniyidathil Swayampakathile Vaittai Perikkinapadiyaale Oppununna Mattade is the example. Lakshmana, like that, since he did all the service to Rama and Sita throughout their stay in the forest, after the Pattabhishekam also was done, he did multiple services at the same time. Oru Thirukkaiyale Thiruvan Kotta Kudayum, Oru Thirukkaiyale Thiruvan Samarathaiyum Daritha Adimai Seidar. In one hand, he had the umbrella. You can see in Rama Pattabhisheka photos, you can see that. And then in another hand, he had the chamara. The chamara, I don't know what to say in English, but this is the one that is used to wave so that fresh air comes on Lord Sriman Narayana. So Thiruvan Samarathaiyum Darit, he took both in both hands. He did this. He had the umbrella in one hand and he had the chamara in the other hand, and he did service to Lord Sriman Narayana. In this case, Rama. So in the 83rd Sutra, the example of Lakshmana is given in terms of how to desire service, how to do service, what attitude to do that service with, and how more things, more services are something that Lakshmana did. And of course, this is said in the context of us needing to adopt what Lakshmana did, taking him as an example and having similar attitude towards service to Lord Sriman Narayana. In the subsequent sutras, 84th Sutra and all, other examples are given. Pediyodayar, Pullai Tirunadiyur Arayar, Chintayanti are given. That we will see tomorrow. Alvaram Perumanar Jiyar Tiruvadigalai Sharanam.
Yeah, Ramayana is a very important scripture for the Sri Vaishnavas. That's very clear. He quotes a lot from Ramayana, a lot of stories.
Ramayana is called Sharanagati Shastra. Sharanagati means surrender. So it is the scripture of surrender. And as we know from the very beginning of Sri Vacana Bhusanam, in the very beginning, he gives the Pramanas. He says, of course, the Vedas, the Upanishads are the greatest Pramanas, right?
Yeah.
But and then he says that there are itihasas, Puranas, and Shmitis. There's Shmitis.
Yes.
There's Shmiti Shastras, which are itihasas, Puranas, and Dharma Shastras, right? And these three, all these Shmiti Shastras help to explain the Vedas, explain the Upanishads, right? So he said, out of the what's the hierarchy of the Shmitis? The hierarchy of the Shmitis is the itihasas are more important than the Puranas. The Puranas are more important than the Dharma Shastras like Manu and all these people. So the itihasas are Ramayana and Mahabharata, and out between Ramayana and Mahabharata, Ramayana is more important than Mahabharata. Remember that sutra? The sutra was said the one that deals with the prisoner is better than the one that deals with the messenger.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So Sita was the prisoner. Is the prisoner, and the messenger is Pandavaduta, is Lord Krishna, who's known as Pandavaduta, who went as a messenger to the or a servant to mediate the war before the war happened. So then after that, the Puranas are next important, and he explained that amongst the Puranas aren't all equal. There are Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic Puranas. So we really only take the Brahmanas or the scriptures that are Sattvic. And amongst the Sattvic Puranas, the Sri Vaishnavas consider Vishnu Purana to be more important than the Bhagavad Purana, because it was written by the father of Vedavyasa, Parasara Muni.
Yeah.
Parasara Rishi. So then after the Puranas, then you have the Dharma Shastras. And why the Dharma Shastras are less important, another reason why the Dharma Shastras are less important, is they deal with the Varnashram system, and the Varnashram system is less important to Pillai Lokacharya. Why? Because he sees everybody as a servant of God, which is more important than any other classification that they have. So people may have classification: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, man or woman, gay or straight, whatever, fat or thin, white or black. Right? There may be many different things that attach to the soul in this material world, different bodily and mental makeups, right? But these things are external to the soul, and what is interior to the soul is its service to God. So it's a servant. Yeah. So just like in the Bhagavad Gita it says, Brahmani gavi hastini sunichava swapakecha pandita samadarshanaha. A pandita, a person who's really knowledgeable, like Pillai Lokacharya, he sees everybody on the same level. He sees everybody as a servant of God, and that's the essence of what everybody is. Everybody's a servant of God. Now, naturally, in society, sometimes we have to make allowances that there are different servants of God. For instance, there are human beings who are serving God. There's animals also serving God. As we know, what he's saying is that even animals can do property. Even an animal can do property, like Gajendra, like Tutayu, like that. So it's not any sentient being. Any sentient being, we could include plants also. Anything that's sentient can do property, can surrender to God. They're just doing it in a maybe different way, slightly different way. And according to the society and the norms of society, people act in slightly different ways. Like in India, like in the West, or Africa, or different Asia, there are different societies. But these are all really external things, and the essence of everything is that everybody's a servant, and that everybody should surrender to God, because when they realize that they're a servant, they're surrendered. They're already surrendered. They're already surrendered. They just don't know it. We're already slaves of God, but we just don't realize it. And once we realize it, we all realize it, then we can serve God, and that's perfection.
So it is said that the best way is not to, or the Tengalai view is no self-effort. It's very much emphasized. Give up self-effort.
No. It's not that we give up self-effort. It's that we give up self-effort to save ourselves. It's not that we give up effort. We still have efforts. We get up every morning. What I mean. Yeah. We do effort throughout our day. So that's the Tengalai understanding of the Charma Sloka. Bhagavad
So
Gita,
so where
1866.
so where is the Tiru mantra? What is the function of the Tiru mantra in this regard?
The function of the Tira mantra has already been explained in Mumukshapati, which he said you're supposed to. He said,
Yeah,
if you
right.
want to know
Yeah.
the meaning and the use and everything of Tira mantra, you have to first of all
Right.
study
Yeah.
Mumukshapati. Yeah. So in Mumukshapati, it's being explained. We're going through those classes. Tomorrow morning, we'll have another class with Dr. Alwar, and Tira mantra is explained the purpose of Tira mantra and the central importance of Tira mantra. Yeah. So it's not useful to go through that today. We also don't have time.
Yeah, sure.
But we can go over that also. We can go over that also, and we can explain the necessity, the importance, let's say, of Tira mantra like that. But remember, Tira mantra is also non-different from the Lord. The Lord's name and his mantras are non-different from the Lord. What's the most important thing? What's the only thing which is important in property, which is being taught here in Sri Vacana Bhusanam, is the Lord. There's no other qualifications. Yeah. So even we can say no mantras, there's no real. It's just the Lord. But the mantra itself is the Lord. So
right.
In one sense, is a way. It's the Tira mantra is a way for us to come in contact with the Lord, the deity in the temple, the deity in the temple. The deity in the temple, the deity in the house is also a way, which was being right. So these are different ways that we can come in contact with the Lord, and we can, because he's the means, he's the upaya, he's the means.
Yeah, I'm asking this because of my ISKCON background, where it's very much emphasized. The holy names are extremely emphasized.
But it's a part of Panchasamskara. Panchasamskara is the system where is the formal system of surrendering to the Lord. So Draupadi didn't do it, Arjuna didn't do it, Vibhishana didn't do it, Gajendra didn't do it, right? But nowadays, people who are following the system of property, they do formal Panchasamskara, Tapa Pundra Tatonama Mantro Yagasta Panchamaha, and the mantra, one of the mantras is Astakshara mantra. So it's a part of formal property, formal sharanagati or formal surrender, according to and different sampradayas do it in a slightly different way, but all the Vaishnava sampradayas agree on that Panchasamskara system as the formality for diksha or for what is diksha in that sense. Diksha is the external formalities associated with surrender to God through an acharya. But the essence is God. The essence is God. The essence, he's the means. That's the essence. So Draupadi didn't get initiated. Arjuna didn't get initiated. Vibhishana didn't get initiated. Gajendra didn't get initiated. They all attained moksha. They all attained the goal, and they didn't get initiated. But nowadays, people are doing, according to Pancharatra, the Pancharatra system. There's a external thing that most people do, like that. But we can't say that people who don't do those things aren't saved, and we can't say that people who go through the externals without actually having a change of heart, we can't say that they're actually saved either. So the important thing is the internal. The most important thing is the internal, like that. As in, it's sort of like we might see somebody. There's a policeman with a uniform and there's a policeman without a uniform, right? They're both policemen. They both can arrest you, right? The undercover policeman, he might look like a drug dealer, even. He might look like a criminal. The undercover policeman, he's sent undercover. He's not. Nobody knows, but actually, in his heart of heart, he's a policeman and he's following the law, and he can arrest you. He has the power to arrest you. The policeman with the uniform also has the power to arrest you. So sometimes we might see a person wearing tilak and wearing Vaishnava dress and appearing to be a sadhu, appearing to be a holy man or something like that. And we might also see another person. We don't see, like I'm not wearing tilak or a panchakacha or something right now. But actually that person internally, he's thinking about that he's a servant of God, or he's thinking like that. So he's meditating like that. Draupadi was, it's like a woman being stripped naked in an assembly, like that. So is she a great sadhu? Yeah, she is. She's a great personality. She's a great Vaishnava, like that, because of what she was feeling inside, not necessarily about what it looked like, Or the elephant Gajendra, it's just an animal, it's just an animal. Why should we reverence an animal? Why should we think that an animal is so great? Because he surrendered to the Lord. Or Vibhishana or Hanuman, or Vibhishana was a Rakshasa, Ravana's brother, but he's a great Vaishnava. Okay, so there's externals and internals. The internals more important, but the externals are also there. Sometimes policemen, sometimes the policemen, they send them undercover. They don't send the policemen undercover unless they're very strong policemen, right? The beginning policemen don't get to go undercover, right? Because it's difficult for them, because they get tempted, because they're associating with criminals and doing all sorts of things like that, right? So that person, he gets to wear a uniform, and he wears a uniform. So in the beginning, when people are just remembering that they're slaves of the Lord, then maybe they should wear tilak, and they should wear dhoti, and they should show themselves to be, in some way, to be servants of the Lord. In that way, it reminds them also, and other people also, of their purpose, of their inner purpose. But once the inner purpose is realized, there's no need for externals like that. It doesn't mean that a person who's realized gives up wearing tilak and dhoti and everything like that. He can also wear those things.